What is the most surprising, shocking, or frustrating thing about the weather in Prince George? I recently posed this question to a group of over 15,000 local residents, and I made some notes of the best responses. Stick around till the end where I reveal the number one single response that came up more than any other. So stay tuned as we dive into some of these great comments made by you guys. Hey, what's up, Prince George? My name is Marc, and I make weekly videos in and around PG covering a variety of subjects. So if you like the video today, then maybe consider becoming a subscriber by hitting the button below and clicking on the little bell notification so you never miss a video. And without further ado, let's get into the apparently hot topic here in Prince George, which happens to be surrounding the weather. So as I mentioned in the intro, I recently posed a question to over 15,000 local residents here in Prince George that were supposed to answer as if they were explaining it to someone moving here or unfamiliar with our northern climate. The question simply asked, what is the most surprising, shocking, or frustrating thing about the weather in Prince George? Now, I was expecting a few people would leave a comment, and maybe over the course of a few days, I'd have gathered enough to give an accounting of the general public's opinion. Holy crap, I was certainly not expecting the response that the question actually got. I guess I shouldn't be surprised because it's been Googled over like 50,000 times a month. So apparently on top of people's minds. I think we had over 50 comments within the first 2 hours, and I posted it like 7 a.m. or something on a Thursday. The momentum carried on throughout the day, and I think by the next morning it was at over like, I don't know, 100 or 105 comments or something. And obviously I had a great time reading and replying to many of them, and I'd like to share a few of my favorites. Let's start off with a reply that was actually given a few times and that also had a few variations of the same answer. So I printed out a couple of the more common responses, I guess, to the questions. So from Mary Tufnell, the fact that we can experience all 4 seasons in one day. From Sheila Anderson, on a trip from McBride to PG, 2 hours east, you can drive through 5 different weather systems. Brooke Farr, 4 seasons, sometimes in one day. Janice Tucker, when camping, make sure you have clothes for every single season. And Cassandra Breeden, it's bipolar. We go through all seasons sometimes in one day. So, I mean, that gives you an idea of what a typical response is to what the weather's like in Prince George. Now, I've got, obviously a lot of different comments here, so I'll kind of pick through a couple of my other favorites, and then I'll get to the one that was hands down the most commented on. So let's see here, let's find a good one. Christine Rickard says, the best thing about PG weather is the low humidity even on a hot day. Alex Wenland, minus 30 in winter, plus 30 in summer. Judy Folks, typically only 3 to 5 degrees lower than southern interior, 299 days of sunshine. That came up a couple of times, so obviously it's a stat that's somewhere, and I guess I didn't really think about it. I mean, I've lived in BC most of my life and kind of taken the sunshine a bit for granted in a sense, and probably the reason is that unless it's summertime or the middle of the day on late spring or early fall, it can be sunny and still cold as balls all at the same time. I mean, in the winter, we get a lot of sunshine, and you don't necessarily associate it with warmth like you do if you're in a southern climate because it's still freaking cold out there, even if it is sunny. That being said, the fact that we do get that many days of sunshine is certainly a plus because down south, down in Okanagan and southern interior there, they get pretty gray winters a lot of times. And you definitely don't get the amount of sunshine you get here spread out throughout the year, even if theirs is more pronounced during the summertime. So definitely highlighting the fact that we do get almost 300 days of sunshine in Prince George. That's awesome. And I think a lot of people, myself included, don't really take that into account. So there you go. Now you can be satisfied that we get a lot of sunshine. It's just the temperatures aren't quite the same. Let's see, what else we got here? This person touched on living in Kamloops and saying that the weather isn't that far off from down there, other than it's a bit drier, but they also get snow fluctuations in early spring. This person, Shona Macmillan, there's basically 6 months of winter, 1 month of spring and fall, and 4 months of summer. Weather's too hot in the summer and too cold in the winter. When I moved up from Vancouver, I had to wear a scarf over my face the entire first winter or I couldn't breathe, and sunscreen every single time I went outside in summer or I burned. Now I'm used to it, so I don't have to do these things. Yeah, I mean, if you're not used to the climate up here, it can be a bit of a shock. Part of the reason probably is just where we live. We're so far north that it gets quite cold overnight. Like even now, like today was 21 degrees. The reason I'm wearing a blazer at the moment, I started in a t-shirt, is because it's chilly. The sun's still up, well, it's setting now, but it's cold out, man. We sometimes have like 16 or 17 degree variances overnight, and not sometimes, all the time. In fact, that's pretty common. We sometimes have 20 degrees variance, so it can be 24 degrees during the day and drop all the way down to like, 4, 5, 6 degrees overnight, and that's a shock to some people. When I lived in Ottawa, I mean, it was never that cold unless it was a transition month. It's a lot more humid there and it's a lot drier here, but if it was 24 during the day, it's going to be like 16, 17 at night over there, which is good in one hand but crappy on the other. So for instance, we don't have to run ACs here for really ever. There might be a week or two during the summer if you really don't have any shade or a cool basement that you feel the need to run an AC, but we get the temperature regulated pretty well for us just naturally, so that's a bonus. Devin Flynn commented just how accurate the Cold Snap Festival was planned for in the winter. So the Cold Snap Festival is a festival that happens here in Prince George at a specific time of the year, and this year it happened to fall on a crazy drop in temperature. I mean, it was friggin' cold. I can't remember the exact degrees, but I think it was down past minus 40 on a few of the days, and that happened to fall in line with the Cold Snap Festival, so there's a bit of coincidental humor for you. This person touched on that too with the temperature variance. Michelle Jagodnik, the 20 degree temperature change that can happen in one day. So many layers. Cyndi Frechette says, I enjoy the fact that we get so much sun in the winter. Maybe cold outside, but beautiful blue sky and sunshine are still wonderful. So we had a lot of comments about how much sun we get, and I think that's definitely something to highlight about the weather here, is that, yeah, unless it's raining, we don't have too many days where it's just kind of gray all day long, unless, like I said, it's about to rain. Usually if it's cloudy, we're going to get spurts of sunshine, so you can still consider that to be a sunshine day because we had some. And some places just don't get that, man. They're sucked in for days or weeks on end, and that gets depressing. So this person brings up a good point. Courtney Madigan says, I would explain to the newcomer about the geography of Prince George. So this was referencing what would you say to someone from outside of Prince George about the weather in Prince George. And she says, I would help them grasp the fact that mountain towns will always have interesting weather. That's a good way of putting it, because the weather here certainly is interesting and can change without warning. Betty June Gair made an interesting comment saying, just to let them know that Prince George has the most sunshine hours in Western Canada. That's kind of shocking. Obviously we just heard that there's 299 days of sunshine, so it's less shocking after hearing that. But prior to hearing that, I wouldn't have thought that was a stat that we enjoy, I guess. But she also says, it may get a bit cold, but the skies are clear and blue, and you can book a tee time at 8 and finish the game. I'm not a golfer myself, so I can't comment on that, but there's certainly enough golf courses around here, and I know enough people that are golfers that I'm sure that's something they can agree with. There was one other comment in here that I wanted to highlight, and I think it's probably my favorite one, and then I'll get to the one that was commented on the most. I think at this point, everyone's probably knows what's coming, but I'll get to my comment first and then to the other one. So my favorite comment, I think, was from Aaron Dotus Hiveland. It's like winter is really mad and keeps storming out of the room and then coming back and yelling, and another thing! That's true. I mean, you get surprised sometimes here in winter when you think, let's just put it this way, we have like 5 winters generally before it's finally where we are now. And this year, I think it was February something, like we had some really warm temperatures for a brief stint. And it's misleading. Like, that it's not spring yet, but you kind of have this small glimmer of hope that, hey, maybe this year we're just going to go straight from February right into sunshine. Sunshine might happen, but temperatures certainly don't. So that's something else to comment on, is that it sticks around for a while and it can come back with a vengeance. For instance, there's a colleague of mine that has a rule. He keeps his winter tires on until after the May long weekend, which is not this weekend coming up, but in a week from now. And it's been sunny and warm, pretty much this last, I don't know, I guess 3-4 weeks. But we know that there's always a possibility of a snowstorm still kind of into May. So probably good advice, maybe a little overly cautious, but good advice nonetheless. So without further ado, the one comment that was made obviously more than any of them, and was made multiple times by multiple people in multiple different ways. And that's any variation where just the time changes from 5, 10, 15. But if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes, because it'll change, or can change. Now obviously that's probably true for a lot of places on Earth, but the weather around here is very temperamental, or can be very temperamental, and it definitely holds true. I mean, there's times where you can have hail, rain, sunshine, and maybe it's snowing up in the heart, all at the same time. And there's times when you're sitting in your house, you look out one window, it's sunny and nice. You look out, this is my backyard. You look out in the backyard and it's friggin' snowing or raining. And you're like, how's that possible? But it just happens. So yeah, that was kind of the comment that was made the most. And yeah, I feel like that's a pretty accurate portrayal of the weather in Prince George. It's just different up here in a lot of ways, but you get used to it for one thing. I mean, the winters feel long, but at the same time, that just makes the spring that much sweeter. And the short summer is really nice for the amount of time that you need it to be. It doesn't get crazy hot. Ottawa sometimes got that way, and with the humidity, it was unbearable. So I don't mind that it's a little bit cooler here generally, and it gets a little bit colder, or during the nights rather, because it's kind of well balanced. So there you have it, guys. That's kind of a wrap up of the weather in Prince George, and it's based on the public's opinion, not just my observations. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this video and you want to support my channel and more videos like this in the future, drop me a comment down below. Let me know if you have your own kind of opinions about the weather, or if you agree, disagree, or otherwise, and leave me a like, because that makes me feel good and it helps the channel to grow. So hope to see you guys on the next one. Have a good weekend.